Hello everyone. We have a game with the black pieces against Smart Garvit, rated 1230. On our speed run, we'll try to get a Pirc Defense if this guy moves. Okay, looks like he'll abandon. Okay, he waited till the last second. They do that on purpose, so we'll get our revenge in the game. We'll still try to get our Pirc set up. He protects the pawn, and now we can play g6, fianchetto, and castle. Okay? And he's just doing normal things, putting pawns in the center, developing his knights. Low rated players like to push early e5, so maybe he'll do that, but I doubt it. But he might. Okay, he develops a bishop, we castle. Now that we're in our starting position, we can choose what we want to do. So he creates this battery to target my king side and to castle long. It makes sense. You can't play e5 in a situation like this because the square is, not covered enough times. So let's attack the center with c5 instead. Trying to get a pawn presence. He pushes past, but this now creates a nice square on e5. Our pawn's looking at it, our knight will look at it, our bishop diagonal looks at it. So I don't mind seeing this. He gains a little space, but we get the dark squares, which is where we want to play anyway. I guess we should continue with some type of queenside expansion. b5 currently cannot be played because it's not supported. So let's start with a6, controlling that square and preparing b5. So he goes for our bishop. I'm going to continue with my plan and ignore him and just complete the Sicilian dragon pawn structure. He takes and we take, but there's no attack coming. I mean, there might be an attack coming, but there's nothing I'm worried about, is what I mean. So he launches the pawn up the board. But one of the reasons I wanted to play b5 was to have the resource b4, kicking the knight, undefending a central pawn. So I'm going to do that. This is for free, comes with tempo. And now I take the pawn for free because it comes with tempo, and he can't give me these checks because they're covered. And even if he could, you just drop the knight back, no big deal. And you're up a central pawn, and he needed that pawn to secure the d5 point. Okay, so he moves the queen, attacks the knight. I don't want to get fancy trying to defend the knight on this square. I do think it should go back where it came from, protect our king, attack another pawn. I think this is the best square currently for this knight. And now we have our win condition, the pawn. So he moves his queen again instead of developing. We could kick it, but I don't want to create any type of weaknesses for no reason. This does defend the pawn, but it's just a weird square. I mean, I don't want to hyper focus on this pawn right now. So I could develop. If I do kick the queen, he could stay in contact with the pawn through here. I'm not convinced that that's a bad move for me. So I'm going to throw it in. I don't think it weakens the g6 square enough to not throw it in, because if he ever pushes, you can push past. If he ever does both, you can do the interlocking setup. He needs all three pawns to really make any of this a weakness. And he only has one move. So what I'm doing is I'm throwing in a move for free that gives my opponent an only move. He has to find one move out of however many legal options to not lose the game faster. Okay, and you see he doesn't pick the right move. He goes somewhere else. So that's why it might be worth throwing in a free move if it doesn't worsen your position somehow. Okay, so what is he threatening with this? Nothing, I don't think. So I think I can just take this. Now I took both of his central pawns that were his only asset, giving him a little space in my position, right? On this d5 square. So now he just hangs his queen. I told you we'd get our revenge in game. So let's get an analysis of that game. We try to get a Pirc set up. He doesn't put two pawns in the center immediately, but it always more or less transposes. So we bring the knight out and attack a pawn, development center. This is for development and king safety. Development center, king safety. King safety and development. And this is just the center. If you wait too long to attack his center, he'll just build up too many defenses behind it. He'll get his attack going, maybe, and you're not going to have any squares for your pieces. You're going to slowly get crushed. So we attack the center immediately. You can't with e5, so we go with c5. And it looks like there are master games here. Okay. So he pushes past, and the top name I see is Andrei Esipenko. So some good players, although he was from, I guess, the white side. Okay. So we play a6, and what other options are there? Because a6 is the best. You don't really need other options. I looked at bishop g4, but I didn't like it because the knight's not pinned. So something like knight h4, although the knight looks weird there, that helps him play f3, and because he didn't play f3, his attack, his pawn storm isn't as effective as it would be, so I didn't want to encourage him to get in that move. With tempo on my bishop, like, I don't know, it just, bishop g4 just looks like it doesn't do anything, so. Okay, so I went with the best move anyway, a6, and right now, the engine says it's still just a completely even game, which is what I would guess. Okay, so we play b5, all zeros, force move. And now this is to win the pawn. But the evaluation doesn't go from 0 to +1, you know, saying you won a pawn. It only goes from 0 to +0.4, which means white has some type of compensation, whatever that may be. Which is weird, because I don't really see much of anything. It looks like a pawn to me. So now we take the free thing, and now it's +0.7, so maybe it's changing its mind. Free stuff for free. Force move. Oh wait, I'm losing my mind. That was +0.4, not -0.4. It says white's better. What? Wait a second. Let's turn this engine on. So the best move to be better, the only move to be better is knight e2, which he played. My best move is take the pawn, which I played. His best move is queen e3, which is a super weird move, and the only thing for the advantage, which he played. My best move is knight f6, which I played. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm up a pawn here. His development, his bishop's blocked. He's not castled. There is no attack. And he's slightly better if he plays perfectly. And if he doesn't play perfectly, then I am up -1. So the evaluation, you would expect black to be about -1 or like -0.8, because white has, you know, a little space or whatever. So you would expect it to be minus zero point 0.8, but it's saying that if white plays h4, h5 only, and then perfectly after that, of course, he's plus zero point 0.4, so, you know, ever so slightly better. Even though we're up a pawn and we can take this second pawn with the queen, because there might be some danger on our king if we just neglect it for too long. So, for example, if we take this pawn, we're hitting the queen. So he doesn't have time to take this immediately. He has to move the queen and keep it on the diagonal. Now I have another turn to address my king's safety, though. So if I just go back, which looks reasonable for defense, he's going to take and coordinate with his rook. If you go with the h pawn, you're asking to get mated, because here, 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 here. So you take with the f pawn. That way when he does this, he doesn't have access to the h8 square because the pawn's in the way. You run. White continues with this engine attack. Perfect moves. You still have to run. I'm just trying to get a feel for what the line a perfect engine would do against this. Okay, so you look at this position, and black's up 2 pawns, but the engine says white's better. Because black's king is all messed up. His king side's weak. It's tricky though. I'm not convinced. Yeah, there are a lot of light squared weaknesses as well in this position. It's not my favorite line for black. Having said that, it's not so easy to attack correctly with white at all. I would definitely not find the right moves from the white side, so there's a good chance that my opponent would not find the right moves, even if he was, you know, much higher rating. And again, it's plus 0.4, so it's still an even game with perfect play from both sides. It's just very surprising. So I was just going down the line where black takes this pawn just to see what happens. And apparently that's a little greedy and it would be kind of hard to defend. So they want me to attack the queen. Queen goes back. What's the best way to safe and get the king safe? What's the idea behind f6? Just keep the knights out. When he takes, we take. The knight defends this infiltration square. Can't be kicked by a pawn. He can't get the queen to the h file. If he just develops, let's go a little aggressive. There's only one move for equality. Everything else, white's better significantly, and that's rook h8. Once you get rid of this rook, any potential coordination with the queen disappears, and therefore any threats. And then you're just up. He has active knights, and then it's a game. But you're still not developed. That's why he has his compensation. But you have to find rook h8, which is the most natural move anyway, so to relieve the pressure. Okay, so that's kind of crazy. But it's good to know. It's good to look at stuff like this so you get a feel in your games. And then you can decide, wait a second, maybe I shouldn't take this pawn. It looks risky, you know. In the back of your mind, you're going to know you've seen stuff like this. And it will change the way you make decisions. But he sees this pawn is hanging with a threat on the queen. So like a human, like I said, the only engine move that holds is h5. But if a human sees this with this, it's kind of hard to play h5 and then follow it up correctly for the next 20 moves. So he immediately doesn't play h5, and anything other than h5 black is just -1. So that's what I was expecting. And now we're back to human territory of -1. The best move is to kick the queen. I don't think it's essential to throw it in. Because after queen here, he can defend the pawn, and then you have to continue elsewhere. And then you have to decide, was this a useful move? Was it a weakening move? Stuff like that, which I was trying to figure out. Here you can continue with h5, letting it back, but then you basically just got in a free move, h5, and it's your turn. Interesting. Rook h8. It's too computerish for me. e5 and e6. I guess if you go with the knight, it's not going anywhere. Do they really? And I guess you don't maybe want to put the bishop in harm's way. Like, what if I go here? Yeah, he just retreats it. So you don't have many useful moves. Like, you can do stuff, but they're not so practical. They're not so effective. So e5 looks interesting if he lets you keep it there. Then I would do it. But he's not going to let you keep it there. And now your pawn is a little weak. But you're up a pawn and you're minus 1.1. And this position looks pretty good. I would play this with black. But anyway, we kick him. And he goes to a different square, hanging the pawn. And now it's losing, completely losing for white, minus 2.5. So we take the second free pawn. Now he throws in h5, but his queen's hanging, so the wrong time. The right idea, the wrong time. But even if his queen wasn't hanging, because we played h6 with tempo, we now have the option of pushing past if we wanted, if his queen wasn't hanging. And then that kind of helps our king out, because he has the knight in the way of the f-pawn. But we just take the queen like a normal person, and he resigns. So the analysis was longer than the game, but this was a kind of an important analysis, because whenever the engine conflicts with your internal evaluation, you should probably find out why and see if it was just some crazy computer line, if it's just a human understanding mistake that you should pay attention to. So in this case, I should pay attention in the sense that, sure, h5 is an engine move, but it's not so engine-y that a human wouldn't play it. You definitely would consider moves like that. The hard part is following it up correctly. h5 is the easy part. Anyone can put that move on the board. But following it up accurately the next 10, 15 moves, that's tricky. A lot harder. But it's still worth it to pay attention, because even if humans won't go down that line, you can see how taking the second pawn was just way too risky down that line once he had already played h5. And so that's why sometimes when you already have a pawn, I say, oh, I have my win condition. I don't want to keep grabbing material, because your position might suffer. So some stuff to keep in mind. Good luck in your chess. Okay, 0 is 9 cent a pawn, 98%. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.